Surfaces Event East is scheduled for October 19th through the 22nd. It's in Miami at the Miami Beach Convention Center. The educational program is going to kick off on the 9th, and at 4:15 there's going to be a most unusual session taking place, and it's led by really our two guests, Paul Friederichsen, who heads the marketing, advertising, and branding firm BrandBiz, and the training guru Brian Gracon. He heads Brian Gracon and Associates. Gentlemen, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Dave. Great to be here.
Good to be here, yeah.
Now, I mentioned this session is taking place on Sunday, October 19th. It's for 45 minutes. It starts at 4:15. Everybody needs to note, who is listening to this, that this is going to be a crowded session, and you probably are asking yourself, why is this going to be crowded? It's because, as far as I know, nothing has taken place in a seminar program like this before. The topic is social media. The name of the session is Social Media Recipe Swap. And the idea is having people who have been there and done that in terms of social media, and they're going to be taking place in this session and exchanging ideas. This is a great idea. And I think it's an extension of one that you guys did at Surfaces, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Talk about that session and how this became the brainchild for this one.
Well, Brian and I wanted more interactivity with the people in the seminar. And we all know that they are actively out there in their businesses every day, building their businesses using social media tools. They're on the web and so forth. So at the end of our session, or toward the end, I guess, we asked them to share their experiences, to share with others, how they've managed to build their business using, traditional advertising media and, combined with, social media like Facebook, Twitter, that kind of thing. And the stories that we got were amazing, and the creativity. So we decided to basically make an entire session out of that. Now we're going to have a little bit of background as far as some of the current trends and so forth in social media. But we really want them to share and share their experiences and how they do what they do.
At events like the International Surface event, people have heard the experts talk about what social media is, why it's wonderful, how they should be using it, and giving exhortation to do so. What we did at this last session, and will be the full topic at this upcoming session, is people who have done social media, who own their own business, have been through the trials and tribulations and worried about what resources are required, how fast can you do it, how long does it take to be successful, all those intimate details of actually doing it. That's why we call this a recipe swap, because we're going to survey people in advance of the session, find out what their questions are about social media and what their experiences are with it, and use that to structure this workshop so that people hear from one another about what they did, how they did it, what the outcomes were, and have a chance to talk with one another about it. That's what happened at the end of this previous session we did, and we thought it was so powerful we wanted to build an entire session around it. That's Social Media Recipe Swap.
I've never seen anything like it before. I'm going to show up and watch this.
Good.
Now, I understand that you have invited some special retailer guests who are going to be presenting some of their ideas too.
Well, like Brian said, the people who have registered for the seminar will be receiving a questionnaire.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do, in fact, we've already developed the questionnaire and so forth, and Hanley Wood has it. So as soon as that happens, they'll be getting the questionnaire, and we'll be able to fill that out and tell us a little bit more about their businesses, what they're doing, what they'd like to learn, and that kind of thing. We really want to make this thing for them. We want to make this time for them, and hopefully come out of this session with some terrific ideas that they can take back to their businesses. So.
There's basically two parts to this survey. One part is what questions do you have about how to execute social media strategies. The other is what experience have you had with it. By merging those two, it's going to help us design the session, pick the specific experiences and speakers that will address most of the questions that people have, and facilitate that conversation.
Yeah, we're shooting for about 4 or 5 retailers to really kind of take the lead, of the ones who have registered for the seminar. and 4 or 5 of them to really take the lead and basically talk a little bit about themselves and talk about their businesses and so forth, and be able to answer questions. And obviously, we're going to be right there with them. But you know, to really get that kind of interaction going, so it should be terrific.
And we're hoping for a lot of responses to the survey, because everybody who sends in a survey response will be eligible for a reward we're going to offer.
Oh yeah.
And then the selected cases will get a reward as well. And if you think about the math of it, let's say I fill out the survey, I've dabbled with social media, I have something I can talk about. So I'm throwing one idea or one experience into the ring. Well, if 20 or 30 other people do that, you know, think of the math there. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
We'll highlight 4 or 5
Right,
during the session.
right.
But one of the things we're going to do at the end of the session is probe for people's interest in joining a social media group so they can continue the conversation after the group. And that we learn about other people's experiences. And when you have a question, you have somewhere to turn. And oh, by the way, in doing that, people will get personal experience using social media, which also is going to help them execute a strategy.
Yeah, and you know, and because everyone is coming from different parts of the country, okay, there's really not that concern, I think, about sharing trade secrets, you know, with someone sitting next to them that may be out of the same market. So it's really it's sort of an ideal scenario for them to be able to talk about what they're doing and to hear other people's experiences too. So.
You may change the whole approach to seminars at these kinds of
Well,
events.
it's fun. Actually, it's a lot of fun. I mean, you know, Brian and I had a blast, you know, when we did the one in Vegas last year. So.
You know, social media can be characterized as a conversation. That's exactly what we're going to do in our
Exactly.
session. It's going to be very social, a
Interactive.
conversation, not a lecture by an expert.
I get the idea that virtually every retailer wants to know more, wants to do more, and there's really no place to go for ideas other than someplace like this.
Well, it's not just, you know, it's really looking for affirmation, I guess. You know, a lot of dealers will be out there and they'll be saying, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You know, am I doing this the best way? You know, am I taking the right direction here? You know, and it's terrific when you hear someone else kind of in the same boat saying, yeah, you're doing it. You know, what you're doing is right. You know, maybe if you added this, or maybe if you tried this.
I was in your shoes a year ago.
Yeah.
Here's how I advanced. You might be able to do the same thing. That's why we're specifically calling it a recipe. Think a cookbook, step by step,
Add a little more salt, a
procedural.
little more sugar, you know.
Yeah, a little more Twitter, whatever.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's something seeing the creativity. I mean, there's really no place you can go. There's not a textbook for this. So what people are telling you, they've really come up with on their own, it seems.
Well, the landscape, the media landscape changes so rapidly, and new social media platforms come online.
Yeah.
They gain popularity. You know, they're trending. You know, this month, something else will come along next month. There'll be a new book that'll come out on how to do Twitter, how to do Facebook, how to do Pinterest, how to do House or whatever. But you know, it's a very dynamic, very fluid environment. So when you can sit down and you can talk to people who are right there in the trenches with you, who are actually, you know, exploring and finding new ways to do this stuff, that's terrific. I mean, that's time well spent.
And that's the value of the bridge we're going to invite people to build and join in with an invitation to form a social media group afterwards to continue the conversation as change happens, because you know it will.
It'll be interesting. You guys do this at every Surfaces event and every Surfaces East and have the same people back and build on that. This is going to be pretty amazing.
You know, I mean, you know, all of these folks are, you know, they're in the same struggle. They're in the same fight. They have the same challenges. Whether they're operating a floor covering store in Dubuque or a floor covering store in Baton Rouge. You know, it's the same industry. It's the same, pretty much the same product mix. It's pretty much the same target. You know, from market to market. Yes, different markets and different regions will have their own challenges, you know, that are unique to them. But by and large, there's a lot of commonality between these businesses. And they're all, you know, doing business and reaching the customers via the same media, pretty much. So that's kind of the beauty of it. And when you get a lot of people who are kind of after the same goal, as far as selling flooring and building their business, that's when the magic happens, I think, so.
And we know that Hanley Wood is very interested in this kind of approach, so we hope a lot of people participate in this session. We'll see what the results are, and then where it goes from there,
Yeah.
time will tell.